PlayStation is doing everything it can to self-delete, but Xbox can't just close their eyes and see their best friend go into the sunset. So here we are. Also, it's console, so honestly, who cares?
Massive Xbox news. There's a lot of subjects that Xbox fans have long debated. We've done so on our Xbox podcast, Defining Duke, with myself and Lord Cognito. But finally, we have clear-cut answers on everything. Is there an Xbox handheld
Clear and cut answers. What a day to be alive.
in development? Yes, there is, but it's years away. And I think that's really bad news if you look deeply at the handheld market and where it's at and where it
Why? Who the hell is gonna buy an Xbox handheld to do what exactly on it? Nothing? Overpay even more?
will be in a couple of years from now. Also, what's going on with Xbox exclusives? Can any game come to PlayStation? The answer
Yes.
is, as it always has been, just Xbox is being very clear about it now. Yes. What does this mean for the future of Xbox in a console market where they're becoming more and more like Valve? We're
Absolutely nothing because no one cares. It's consoles.
going to get into that. Is Xbox still interested in acquiring companies? They've said as much before, but have doubled down on that. Just it's not anything happening soon. And
Hey, if I was Xbox, I don't know how I would feel honestly about acquiring companies. They paid 80 billion for getting Blizzard. And look what Blizzard has done. Diablo goddamn 4, okay? The biggest disappointment since Diablo 3. And then they have World of Warcraft, which is woke trash garbage that literally no one cares about anymore. And then they bought Bethesda. And their crowning jewel currently is Starfield. Then they did even a better one, and they doubled down on Starfield, though I'm making an expansion without changing anything to the base game. Man, I don't know. They are burning money so hard, it's not even funny at this point. Well, it's actually still funny.
so much more to get into. A lot of this information, for those who took an objective look at the future of Xbox, will not be too surprised at what they find here. And the only shocking part of
Also, this intro literally tells me nothing, Maddie. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to gauge from it? You're being unreasonably cryptic on things that are not supposed to be even close to cryptic. My god. At this point, you can just be the gypsy woman telling futures.
it all will be how clear Xbox is actually being about these sorts of things, where their biggest misstep, I think, for this generation has always been messaging. So I appreciate how clear they are being here. But myself and others
I would say that's probably actions, but that's okay.
who talked about Xbox and their future and said exclusives are done and gone, they're probably still going to do hardware, have continuously been accused of fanning the flames of Xbox controversy for the sake of our own gain, which makes no sense, especially in my case. Like, I just talk about everything, and I'm lucky enough to do pretty well with that. So I don't need to lean into one controversy or the other. In fact, I can just step
But I do. I love controversy.
completely around it if I really felt like it. But this is just an honest assessment of what's going on here with Xbox. And I think it's a fascinating look because you have Nintendo and PlayStation taking a very traditional approach to the market, still doing their exclusives, still making their deals. But Xbox is going full multi-plat. Like, that is confirmed here. And what it means for their future is they're going to make a lot of money, but they might be treated differently on the market from other platform holders. We're going to get into it, but ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're
What? What the fuck does that even mean? What?
interested in what's going on with Xbox, we talk about it a lot here. We talk about it a lot on Last Stand Media with our Defining Duke Xbox podcast. So check either of those out. Consider subscribing.
Okay, stop with the plugs, Maddie. Just stop. Cringe.
With that, let's begin at the top of this Bloomberg article titled Microsoft's Gaming Chief is Still Looking for Acquisitions and Sees Future Growth. Quote, we definitely want to be in the market, and when we can find teams and technology and capability that add to what we're trying to do in gaming at Microsoft, absolutely we will keep our heads up, end quote, Spencer said. Still, there is nothing imminent, and very large deals are probably off the table at present as the company is spending a lot of time absorbing Activision Blizzard employees, he said. So out of everything here, this is probably
Yep, that seems about right, honestly, at the bare minimum.
the least surprising news if you pay attention to Xbox. They said in the middle of acquiring Activision Blizzard that they are going to be more aggressive with acquisitions. And why do you do that? Well, you just beat the FTC, the CMA. You've beat every regulator on the market when it comes to acquiring the maker of Call of Duty. Like, you have the #1 grossing IP in gaming pretty much. So everyone else, by comparison, is small fry. And this emboldens a company like Microsoft to go out and acquire more until someone finally stops them. Now, they are waiting, as they mentioned here, to fully absorb.
That's completely not how it fucking works. That is such a random statement. Oh my, that is the most random thing ever. That's not even close.
Activision Blizzard, I think this is a good thing because with Bethesda, we learned with Redfall how truly disconnected the pipeline from Xbox was, and that the assumption is like Bethesda is not still operating on their own. They
Okay, what we learned from Redfall is that if you're a black vampire chick, you can always call in your ex-cuck vampire boyfriend, and things happen. Okay, I'm not saying there's a lot of reasons why Redfall was an absolute disaster, but there definitely are a lot.
they are very much part of Xbox, and the expectations.
And the Indiana Jones game is gonna be so bad. I'll love it. I'll love it so much. It's gonna be so bad. Oh my lord, it's gonna be the worst thing ever.
Increase because of that. So what targets would they have in mind? I think number one, you have to look at AAA developers who provide a great mobile outlook. One example that comes to mind is Square Enix. They really invest in mobile gaming a lot, but they obviously have big AAA IP in something like Final Fantasy. But you have to look at where Xbox is targeting growth. It is PC and it is mobile. I do think the days of them getting core single player developers, you know, your Bethesdas, your Obsidians, In Exiles, Compulsion Games, I think that's done. I think that's been done for a while. The acquisition of Activision Blizzard told us as much, but I do think the attempt to get games that are just hardcore single player titles, like they have almost 20 studios that can do that for them, and then some now with Activision Blizzard in
And none of them are probably even close to being successful. Okay? What now? What?
the fold. So I feel like Xbox is done chasing that golden goose, and now they're looking for things to surround their business that will offset AAA costs, as we'll get into a bit when we talk about their now delayed mobile store. Next up, though, what we have here is Microsoft saying they want to diversify the teams working on games by looking.
Also, saying that they want to offset AAA costs is the most stupidest sentence you can ever fucking say in a situation like this, considering not even 2 minutes ago you literally said, oh, they acquired Call of Duty, the most grossing game in blah, 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 blah. That is so dumb. What kind of brain rot am I hearing here?
More to China, he said. The company developed a new version of Age of Empires, which is a world-building franchise that first appeared in the 1990s, by partnering with Tencent, who we'll talk about in just a moment. Microsoft and Tencent released the game globally in October. It's been a really good area for us to learn from creative teams that have real, unique capability, Spencer said. The opportunity is to partner with creative teams in China for global. Now, why is China significant here? Well, Tencent has their tendrils in everything, and I mean literally everything. Like, I just learned this past week they have 30% ownership of Larian Studios, who made Baldur's Gate 3, and everyone really touts them as like,
I mean, is that news for you?
Like the crowd-funded, globally supported, independent studio, but they have Tencent in their pocket even as well. Another example is Remedy, developers of like Alan Wake 2. They have agreements with Tencent. Like, Tencent is everywhere.
Alan Wake 2 is a woke mess that has not made a single fucking dime yet, and now it has an expansion that's probably not gonna make still a single fucking dime. So, I don't know if I would even bring Alan Wake in a conversation here.
And money talks when you have boats of it, right? I'm open-minded to this, but we must remind people that Tencent has attempted in the past to creatively control developers before. And that has mattered less and less to big developers who have jumped ship for what Tencent is building. So you have people like Sean Layden, the former head of PlayStation Studios, joining Tencent. You have Hideaki Itsuno, a 30-year Capcom vet director who headed up titles like Devil May Cry, Dragon's Dogma 2 this year, now jumping ship for Tencent's Lightspeed Japan Studios. So Tencent is out there, but this makes sense because Xbox has missed the boat on China, famously skipping out on the now viral and extremely successful and kind of low-key good Hoyoverse with Genshin Impact. This has always been Xbox.
I'm sorry, did he just say low-key? I'm pretty sure Genshin Impact... Let's actually check what makes more money. Genshin Impact or COD? How much does COD make a year? So, you might be wondering, how much does Call of Duty make? There are some figures that illustrate this. In this year of release, the game made 50 million in revenue in 2020. The figures stood at blah 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 blah. And okay, so COD has made roughly 500 million this year. Now that does probably sound pretty good. But now let me introduce you to how much did Genshin Impact make 2020? Let's go 3, I guess. The game made 1.8 billion on mobile the first year, 1.8 billion on its second, and 1.6 billion during 3 years. Since September 28, 2023, the RPG has generated a further 891 million, making the first dip below 1 billion. Okay, so there we have it. Genshin actually dropped. That's insane. But it should still be making, well, it should still be making a billion and plus this year. Okay, so saying Loki Genshin Impact makes money is, Maddie, do you even know what you're talking about? I'm sorry, not claiming that you do research and talk about games and not knowing the Genshin Impact literally puts his fists up in someone's a-hole and money pops out is insane.
Xbox's Achilles heel. They wait for someone, in this case with Genshin Impact, PlayStation to catch the wave, and then Xbox dives in. They found success with games like Palworld and High on Life when it comes to virality, so it's not all doom and gloom, but their dramatically shrunken efforts in regions like Japan have just led to them being a purely US console, with global growth being tough to come by. So teaming up with China makes a lot of sense. And so you look at games...
That's not even true. Xbox is popular in the rest of the world except Japan. Like, is Manny just flat out lying, or does he just not know these things? When you look at the Xbox versus PlayStation market, for example, you see that the big difference is in Japan.
Games like Black Myth Wukong, which were extremely successful
in China to a degree,
and sold a ton of PS5s, and Xbox notes that and says, well, we want to grow there, and so that's how they're partnering with Tencent. Now, after this, we get into handhelds a bit. The executive who had repeatedly professed his admiration for handheld game devices said the expectation is that we would do something in that category. Although...
Also, the statement, we're partnering with Tencent because we want to grow in Japan, well, not Japan, but China, is absurd. Tencent doesn't grow you. Tencent allows you the entry in there. Tencent is not going to fucking try and make you big in China. They're just offering you a way in.
The company is working on prototypes and considering what it might do. Spencer also asked his group to look at the market and develop its vision based on what it learns. Such a device is a few years out, he said. In the coming months, designers and engineers will focus on making the Xbox app work better on existing portable devices and partnering with hardware makers to make sure their product syncs with Xbox games and experiences, he said. The Xbox app right now is good rather than great on some gadgets, he said. Longer term, I love us building devices, Spencer said, and I think our team could do some real innovative work, but we want to be informed by learning and what's happening now. For those who have been Xbox fans for a while or who have covered Xbox for a while, you probably read this with as much frustration as I did. It's easily the most annoying part of the entire article here because of how purely avoidable it was. Number one, we already saw Xbox was partnering up with people like, say, Asus with their ROG Ally to see what was going on there, and they had...
Asus. Is that how English people pronounce it? Is it, isn't supposed to be Asus, and that's it?
Xbox kind of built into the back end. It was an Xbox-focused device. Same thing with Logitech G Cloud Gaming, right? This handheld was all about cloud gaming, and Xbox Cloud Gaming came packed in. There was a gaming mode that you could turn on for it, and I love both these devices. In particular, my Logitech...
Okay, listen, boys. I'm gonna be real with you right now. Stop being an F-slur and don't fucking buy handheld devices. Be a normal fucking person. Read a fucking book! Okay? Not play a shitty game while you're on the plane or whatever and thank me later. Okay? God damn it. I bet 99% of you have not read a single goddamn book in your life. That is just reality. And you know how much you're missing out on? A lot. Okay? A lot.
Logitech G Cloud still gets a ton of reps from me. But
admittedly, said the guy who hasn't read a book in years.
In that moment there, I remember myself and Lord Cognito saying Xbox is clearly doing a little R&D. How do these handhelds work? How is our app functioning on these? And I've never really had an issue with their app on these handhelds, but there have been...
We're already spending way too much time on the PC for entertainment, for work, and if it's not the PC, it's probably a TV or something dumb like that, okay? Don't just spend all of your time at a screen looking at someone like Mr. Matty, because that's probably not even hot if you're gay. You need other options. You need to do different things. You need to tune out, do other things. No, don't buy a handheld. Never buy a handheld. You will be fucking seeing me dead before I buy a handheld.
Tons of complaints about the Xbox app, broadly speaking. The PC app is atrocious. And when you go on something like the ROG Ally, where the PC app is there, because it's basically a handheld PC, it's terrible, even with the adjustments that they have continued to make. It's awful. And this has been a complaint, not just recently, like for years, for at least the entire generation, but a little bit before that. The Xbox app has notoriously been bad for a lot of people. And to read that it's now holding up Xbox's plans enough where they are saying, hey, look, we have to learn more. We have to research more before we make these adjustments to our app, and then we'll work on the handheld, is so frustrating because of how avoidable it is. Now, what this means is, in my opinion, Xbox is on a timer. PlayStation has reportedly been working on their own handheld, and obviously the Switch successor will have some sort of handheld capability. Xbox finally has the opportunity.
By the time these things come to market, by the way, Valve will already have the monopoly on everything. It is blatantly worthless as a company to even honestly try this. And considering how much this is good, like, listen, you're Xbox, you're PlayStation, and you're literally kind of admitting, oh yeah, we can't compete with the fucking PC and making games, selling shit, and every time we release a new console, it only is a matter of 2 days until someone shows, oh yeah, remember when they promised 60 FPS in performance mode? It's a fucking lie, okay? You already can't win on the market you're supposed to own. But now you want to go into handhelds? You can't even make consoles work. But you want to go into handhelds. That is so stupid. Admittedly, I don't know what else they're honestly supposed to do, but this seems like a literal waste of fucking resources.
Need to get a step ahead of PlayStation and control their own messaging, but with it being years out, I actually see PlayStation getting ahead of them. And why does this matter? Well, PlayStation has a pedigree with handhelds. The PSP was a monstrous success, and the Vita has freaks like me who are still absurdly dedicated to playing it and praying PlayStation goes back to working on something like it. Many share that feeling, and I think if PlayStation gets the drop...
No one shares that feeling. If something like the Vita, or whatever it's called, was successful, PlayStation would not probably abandon it.
On Xbox, then they're going to appear to the public the same way I described with China. The late bloomer, the follower, and in turn, I think it's going to impact their hardware sales. Because, for example, Series X is a great console. No problem with smart delivery. Anything that I needed next-gen upgrades on was automatic. Game Pass is there. Great exclusives are there. Great third-party support is there. It has a lot of the chops that you're really looking for.
That's
but the
stupid.
console itself isn't selling because of these decisions where Xbox continuously misses out. And PlayStation, at the very least, feels like the safest bet to ensure that you're going to get your hands on, you know, the games that you ultimately see and want to buy. At least there's a higher percentage chance. That's what
There we go. It's the same old conclusion. Nothing honestly matters. It's just the fact that Xbox doesn't have any games that people want to play. Okay? Oh no, Xbox has a lot of good games that people want to play. People love Xbox because of its good... Yeah. Go fucking play Starfield, asshole.
What you're really looking for, because at the end of the day, exclusive deals are still kind of happening lightly on the Xbox side of things. So when I see that their handheld plans are years behind, I'm like, that's terrible news for them, because I do feel like PlayStation is going to get a step ahead of them. Xbox is going to look like the follower, the last in the market after Steam goes. Nintendo's obviously already out there, who started this whole thing. Asus ROG Ally's there, Logitech G Cloud's out there, Razer's out there, PlayStation steps in, and then here comes Xbox. It's just, people have already picked their handheld by that point, and they'll be in the same exact situation they are in with their current devices. Their whole mantra about being on every screen makes sense, and they actually talk about pricing at the end of all of this, which I think is fascinating because it seems like they're trying to keep costs low. But this is still, I think, a risky venture because of the timing.
I don't understand how this makes sense, by the way. Okay, low-key, I'm gonna tell you a secret. I have fucking kept this for myself, but I don't understand how this makes any fucking sense that Xbox moves away from exclusives. Because if they move away from exclusives, they are blatantly admitting that there's no point in having the Xbox platform in the first place. Putting Call of Duty on Game Pass already is like the most fucking red flag you can actually see for the future of Xbox, and the fact that that's probably a Hail Mary thing just for them to find a way to create passive income. And who knows if that's gonna work, and if it's and if it will work, then man, a lot of people are gonna figure out that the Game Pass is a scam, as I have been telling people for a very, very, very long time now. And some people are really fucking dumb, and they can't listen to logic. And the easiest logic here is, if Game Pass lost Xbox money, because you're saving money, right? You're saving money by using the Game Pass. Why the hell would Xbox have a Game Pass? Do you think they want to lose money, or what exactly is the play here? Yeah, exactly. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And that allowance to just put their exclusives on every platform means that they probably want to be more like a not actual console or a platform, but they want to be more like game developers, which does make sense, and it does make with the Activision Blizzard acquisition and the Bethesda acquisition and everything else, but that's kind of questionable, because when are they gonna ditch consoles in general if it's no longer useful for them to even have it? Why do these crazy things like putting Call of Duty on Game Pass? Like, there's this mishmash of two ways that they can go, and they're currently kind of doing both at the same time, which doesn't make a lot of financial sense.
And how it could bite them in the ass big time. I do think feature support goes a really long way. Like, if Xbox allows me to play Steam games on my handheld Xbox, that's a huge step for me. If it is a all-in-one library, that could be the ultimate system for many people. So I'm hoping they do provide great value.
That sounds stupid, because we already have the all-in-one library, and it's called Steam. We don't need more.
You like that. That's the one thing I said. Let me play these games natively, and let me play other PC launchers on this Xbox handheld.
You want the all-in-one library? Just go buy a fucking Steam Deck. Which you shouldn't, as I already explained previously. But yeah, again, these decisions from Xbox are kind of questionable, okay? I have my suspicions from financial point, and those suspicions are effectively that Xbox sees no future in some things, but they want to see, they want to just kind of chum the waters a little bit to see which way flows a little bit better. And that most likely is going to be the all in all encompassing thing that's going to reveal itself after like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 years, who knows. But Mr. Manny, he's saying the most random shit ever.
And you've got me won over. Next up is the mobile store. The company's planned online store for mobile games has been delayed as the group does additional research on the market, Spencer said. Now, Xbox President Sarah Bond had announced the store in May with a planned release date of July, but staffers are still talking to mobile developers, including those responsible for Microsoft-owned Candy Crush and Call of Duty Mobile, to figure out a plan, which we saw recently. Phil was visiting some of these teams. As regulatory cases involving Apple Inc.'s iOS and Alphabet Inc.'s Android mobile stores work their way through courts in various countries, Microsoft still doesn't have an effective way to get its own store on mobile fronts. I'll keep this one brief, but this is more significant than I think people are giving it credit for, because a lot of Xbox's future business hinges on this. And the difference for them is they are swinging the biggest. They are not going for just making games on mobile, which I thought was originally the plan. They want to make a whole mobile storefront. They want to take their piece of the pie, just like they're doing on PC, just like they're doing on console. So this is a big part.
Man, if Xbox actually does that, I don't know, okay? Phil Spencer just has a few screws loose, if that is actually the plan. In any case, I feel I'm done. That was Mr. Matty Place, 10 out of 10. Just don't fucking use a console. That's pretty much the end of the story. Be a normal person, okay? If you want to play a game in the console handheld controller thing, just buy that and plug it into your PC. Be a normal person. Bye.